Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome into another edition of the program. As we kick things off today, we have a great guest for you, and we have none other than Steve Iverson. He is the founder and CEO of Rank17. Well, Rank17, they are a virtual reality studio, really emphasizing, room-scale VR environments. And, it's something that is certainly picking up traction in more than one field, more than just gaming, more than just education, more than just training. It's, let's face it, it is the dream of so many people out there to essentially have a holodeck. And this is, baby steps towards that goal. And we're going to have the founder and CEO of a company dedicated to bringing you those experiences. So, and that's in the first segment. The second segment, we're going to do computer and technology news, where we have quite a number of stories, including, the namesake of this episode, Pirates Pirated Pirates. And that, of course, refers to the fact that, yes, pirates got their hands on the edited version of Pirates of the Caribbean 5. So, pirates are holding Disney up for ransom. And, we'll see if Disney shanghais some people to get that back. But, that's for the second segment. So, a few things to mention before we get started here, including ComputerAmerica.com. For those of you who this may be your first time listening, that is your home and that is your home base, where everything that we talk about today, including links to our guests, links to their website, links to their products, or links to any articles, videos, demonstrations, anything we talk about on the show today, will be included in the show notes. So if you're busy, if your hands are tied, don't worry, we have your back. Second, be sure while you're there at Computer America to check out the live video stream, because not only can you listen to Computer America, and it's a great way to experience us, but you can watch Computer America, and we'll be doing things like showing off, I think it's going to be very handy today as we, of course, speak to virtual reality, and we're going to be showing demonstrations of Rank17, their products, and things like that. And you just get to experience Computer America in another way. And the last thing is the social media contest. We have that up. It is running. A lot of you are showing a lot of interest in this already, and we thank you for that. But we're giving away the M720 Triathlon mouse from Logitech. That's right. They're partnering with us. And we'll be reading a lucky listener's name live on the air this Friday to award that and send that out to you absolutely free. It's a lot of fun, and we say congratulations to whoever wins that this Friday. Check all of that and more out at ComputerAmerica.com. So, with all of that being said, I think we're just going to jump into this because we have precious few minutes here, as we have a very, very cool topic to talk about. And again, this is something I always like to bring up, because virtual reality, it's certainly in its beginning stages. It's come a long way since the 90s, and it's been cumbersome and bulky. And I think we have a great guest to really get into where VR is at today and what VR promises for, everyone, all ages, today, tomorrow, and VR into the future. So help me welcome onto the show once again, Mr. Steve Iverson. He is the founder and CEO of Rank17. Find more at rank17.com. And Steve, thank you for joining us on Computer America.
And thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, no. And like I said, this is going to be a lot of fun, because this is, we've talked about it a number of times, and there are a number of companies out there providing hardware, and that's usually where kind of VR stops for, at least us here on the show when we've discussed it, is how do we get VR hardware and how do we get it into our lives? But I think you come at it from a different a different perspective because you're actually designing, as I understand it, experiences. So for everyone out there, could you explain a little bit about Rank17 and what it is your company has set out to do?
Yeah, sure, exactly. Yeah, you're right. VR is, I think, a kind of an emerging, super exciting space now. Like you mentioned, a lot of the hardware that's come out in the last couple of years has made it just much more accessible and much more realistic and a really compelling experience. I always kind of encourage people that haven't tried some of the new headsets to give it a shot because, like, when I first tried it about 18 months ago or so, I thought it'd be another cool tech gadget. It's kind of gimmicky. Maybe it'll be like 3D TV or something kind of along the lines of that. But it's really a very visceral, compelling experience. And the new generation of VR hardware out there, whether that's the Vive or PlayStation VR, is just so much more realistic and compelling than you're expecting. And I don't know, it's great for people to try. But you're right. Yeah. So we're not a hardware manufacturer of the VR equipment. We're writing software and monetization technologies for VR developers. So we've actually launched 6 VR titles now. We have 6 games that are available on the Steam store for the Vive and the Oculus, and we have 1 title now on the PlayStation VR. And we're working on VR advertising modalities to monetize new VR titles, our own and other VR publishers.
That is, that's of course a pretty big challenge to, to take over because I think, and you could probably speak to this because you've been developing for, a little bit now, but what makes VR, I guess, exciting? Because, like you said, I the first time I tried it was out at CES. I tried an HTC Vive. I played, I really hate that I don't remember, but it was space game. You pilot a ship, you have to shoot down another ship, and really kind of experiencing a cockpit in 3D and being able to chase down a ship, actually look behind you and you can look out the window. It was it was a completely different kind of game, and trust me, I've played a lot of games. It was very engrossing. So what's exciting about VR right now, kind of for you?
Yeah, well, I think, like you said, the experience when you play these games, it's very visceral, and you really get more caught up in the moment than I think you can even imagine. One of our titles, kind of one of our early games that we developed, is called Armed Against the Undead. It's a kind of a wave shooter genre where you're stationary and zombies can come and approach you and you have to shoot them. And there's lots of games on this PC like that, and even obviously like scary movies. But when you play like a scary VR game, it's amazing just how scared people get, and some people can't handle it and rip the headset off. It doesn't always have to be scary, and doesn't have to be like that in VR. But that was one of the things where I kind of recognized that this is like the technology is kind of way beyond just like a new gimmick where it's like, oh, this is not just ultra high definition TV or 3D TV, but when you can get that experience out of people and grown men are too scared to play a game, it's like, oh, this is really a compelling technology. And so you don't obviously have to use that just to scare people, but give them a much better, gaming experience or storytelling experience or, whatever it may be. And that's also kind of on a totally different angle. One of the ways we're approaching that too is like, well, what opportunities does that present for like sponsorships and advertisers to really kind of like reach out and connect with an audience in a much more kind of visceral and engaging way than you can with just standard, kind of digital advertising.
Well, yeah, and because you brought it up again, I really wanted to get into that because I think when we think of advertising, we think of television advertising, we think of billboards. It's two-dimensional, it's on the screen, it tells you a story. If it's a picture, if it's a video, it shows you a picture. If it's a billboard or something like that, VR has the capability of really, telling a better story because, hey, it's virtual reality. What are you kind of seeing? Are you seeing any kind of changes in advertising, or is it like, or is it like, here's your game in VR, and then all of a sudden, this picture pops up and it shows you a little video? Like, is VR adapting, or I'm sorry, is advertising adapting to virtual reality, or do you see it going to adapt?
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. I think that's a great question. And I think it's still, the market's very early, but we kind of see kind of all of the above, where everybody's trying to figure out what is, advertising going to look like in VR. How do you measure the performance of advertising in VR? What types of experiences do users want, and do advertisers want? And the different ad modalities that people are testing are kind of all the above, like you mentioned, where there's the kind of the interstitial kind of interrupting VR experience where it takes you in and out, which I think is a little bit jarring and not a great, user experience, and doesn't really leverage the technology as much as possible. One of the things I'm excited about and that we're really looking at is more integrating sponsorships and advertisements within 3D environments, where it's just part of the experience and part of the game. And it's almost more like how product placement works in kind of TV shows or in movies, where it can be part of the environment or part of the game, where you recognize that it's an advertisement and maybe the advertisers increasing their brand awareness, but it doesn't take you out of the moment and it doesn't kind of ruin the experience. And in a lot of cases, it actually can add to the experience. It just makes it seem more real, and you can kind of associate good things with a particular brand. So that's one of the things we're working on, and we've been testing. I guess we're jumping right into the ad side of things from the
Right.
games. So one of our our newest game is called Mighty Monster Mayhem, where you're a 17-foot tall monster. You can go around and destroy this building, or destroy a city that's full of buildings. But that city also has billboards and buses and A-frame signs on the sidewalk, just like any city that can have advertising on it. So you get to destroy buildings, you also get to destroy billboards, and advertisers can also advertise on those billboards. So it's really, you get I think it's just part of the experience, and people don't even recognize that, there's, ads that are part of this game.
Right. Yeah, and again, if you're watching the video portion, we're actually showing the Steam trailer of of your game, and it's one of those things that VR, it's it may seem a little strange the first time you see virtual reality, because in this video you essentially see two giant monster hands disembodied, but when you have the headset on and when you have the controllers in your hand, it's it's very easy to become engrossed in, hey, destroying a city or playing a horror game or something like that. It's a lot of fun, and tying that in, it's kind of funny though that besides the monster game, you also have another game here that's, I think, if we're talking advertising, you can definitely draw from real life, and that would be, of course, baseball. You have VR baseball. I think the MLB has completely nailed how to put advertising on every corner of the screen without it being too too in your face, because you're the one developing this, but do you see yourself kind of drawing from real life? You mentioned the billboards in the monster game, drawing from real life and saying, well, they kind of already figured this out, we just have to put it in game form.
Yeah, I think so, and that's definitely the case. And those are the two examples we've mentioned are good ones, where when you look at a baseball stadium with ads, or you look at a city with billboards, they actually look better and they look more realistic. If you strip out kind of all the signage from inside a baseball stadium, it's like you can still play the game and hit baseballs, but it actually looks more realistic, and you kind of get a better feeling when it looks like any other baseball stadium, because they have signage everywhere. And kind of the same thing with cities and buses, and people are used to seeing that. What's really interesting from that that we're discovering from kind of that angle too is our parent company kind of runs a traditional online advertising network where people are used to buying digital media on web pages, and there's certain file formats for buying banner ads or text ads and things like that. But in the VR space, it's like, it seems like this is like digital advertising, so there'd be some crossover between the creative from a web page to a VR game, but I think it's more likely to come from the more traditional advertising world where advertisers can use existing ad assets from actual billboards and not from web pages, because the ads translate better from, the real world creative than they do from, the web page creative. So that's super interesting because we're the digital advertisers, but now all of a sudden we're talking about, billboard ad creative and print ad creative that, we used to not be familiar with.
Right. Yeah. But kind of like you mentioned, though, putting it within, putting advertising within games, that's going to be one aspect of it. But I feel like another great potential for virtual reality and, advertising, let's face it, is that you can build experiences. And I think one great, kind of advertisement, although it was a full-fledged $30 game, but I have no doubt that Rick and Morty virtual reality was really just a $30 ad for their season 3 coming up. But, a lot of people, they bought the game and they had fun and they made a virtual reality experience that promoted their show. So, do you see any kind of interest from traditional companies in not just kind of billboard advertising in VR games, but actually making their own VR experience that people would maybe get more invested in?
Yeah, for sure. We've seen lots of that from, that's more from kind of like a sponsorship angle where brands and advertisers want to associate themselves with kind of these exciting experiences. And I think like, traditional advertisers like Red Bull is, kind of the perfect example of that, because they sponsor kind of all these, great adventures or exciting experiences. And then you slowly start to build kind of those positive feelings up with Red Bull. So we're seeing that on kind of the VR front. So whether it's, an alcohol brand or kind of this, sports brand that wants to associate themselves with just sort of fun experiences. And so it's like, well, you're not actually advertising the alcohol, but just the, fun VR experience that people are playing that's brought to you by brand X.
Right.
So,
right. No,
yeah,
and makes perfect sense. But the interview is already like halfway over, and we haven't even gotten to the fun part, which is the games. The advertising.
Yeah.
I mean, the advertising is super important. If there's no money coming into the idea of virtual reality, then it's not going to spread. Let's face it. That's just how it is. But you guys do make you have 6 games already. It seems like you've been in development for about a year and a half as a studio. So let's get a little bit of background about Steve Iverson, your team. Do you have any kind of background in traditional games, or is VR gaming a completely new territory for you guys?
VR gaming is new. So our background is we've actually launched about 65 titles from our parent company over the past 5 years, and they were always in kind of the specific niche and short play experiences. So we have a number of web games and desktop games that were kind of small, short play, in addition to kind of different utilities and kind of search tools that we've released over the years. So we have experience building kind of these small desktop games that never kind of obviously like AAA titles or any large things like that. So that's when we're kind of always looking for different areas for opportunities to expand the business. Where can we kind of take our expertise in kind of short play app and game development? And that's why, as I was mentioning, when I first was kind of exposed to VR, I sort of fell in love with that, and I know it's going to be, a much bigger opportunity in the future, and lots of companies are investing, heavily into VR.
And
so, yeah, that's kind of how we go ahead. Yep.
Right. No, and I just kind of wanted, one of your opinion, because I mean, right now, virtual reality, it's certainly a thing. I mean, there's a very small fan base for it. It's growing, I'll give it that. But as you know, as I'm sure you know, in a few months, I believe HTC Vive is going to come out with their next generation of headset that is going to be wireless, cordless, without the giant cord sticking to a desktop computer. The idea of breaking the cord is huge for a lot of people because they see it as cumbersome. Do you think it's kind of the cord? Do you think it's the money cost? Do you think it's the perception? What is going to tip VR into the mainstream? Because right now, again, it's kind of niche.
Yep, I think it's the cost. I think it's the cost and the content are two big drivers. I think the cord will help. Honestly, it is kind of annoying that I think it's a compelling experience where you get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I'll probably be the first person to get, the cordless version. But it is still pretty expensive. The Vive, when it came out, was $800. I think they're selling now for $700. Plus, you need a pretty high-end PC to drive that. And so you're into kind of this gaming system for, almost $2,000 or, more than $2,000. We've already seen, PlayStation VR came out at the end of last year, half the cost of the Vive at $400, and a lot of people already have a PlayStation, which is much less expensive than that high-end PC, and kind of the sales numbers back that up. I personally, the PlayStation VR experience is great. I love it. It's not quite as, highly tuned as kind of the Vive experience, but for the value, it's a great experience.
Right.
So having said that, a $400 PlayStation headset still pretty expensive on top of a $400 PS, the PlayStation console.
Right.
But that's, the price is going to keep coming down. So in 18 months, I think the price is going to be a lot more accessible. I also think there's just not that much content out there, and people are figuring out what are the, fun games to play, what are the good experiences. We have 6 titles live now on the Steam store, and that makes us one of the largest VR game developers by count. And it's not, 6 is not very many when you look at like the mobile app world or, desktop app world. So we need, I think we need lower prices of hardware, which is just always coming with the constant innovation of kind of computer development, and definitely more content, which is on its way.
Right. And of course, speaking to that point of getting more content out there, developing for VR, it's certainly something different. Like you said, it's, it takes a completely different kind of process. So would you kind of, what did you like about developing games in VR? Because again, it is so different from, short play smartphone apps or desktop games. What do you like about developing in VR?
Yeah, I guess there's a ton of stuff. It's really it's pretty fun. Part of it is that it is new, and it's kind of always fun to work on version 1 of anything, and even things like the menuing systems and the controls, where a lot of the stuff is exactly how to do it in a PC game or a PC utility, is brand new, and you can kind of see that when you play, play any of the games on Steam. Everybody has like a different menu and how to start it up and how to train the user on what the controls are. And so I think it's fun to innovate there to try to get it right. We try to make our games really simple and easy to play. But even that, we've learned a ton just doing kind of the 6 games we have. So it's kind of nice to work on a version 1. And I think again, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's really fun to develop these games because they are just so compelling to play. And we describe this, I tell people about it, like, oh, we're making a monster destruction game in VR, but when they play it and they can leap from building to building and you can eat people and smash cars, people love it and get more into it than I think they will. And so that's always fun to see people, kind of enjoy your work.
Well, yeah, you never really get the chance to, jump around a city, smash buildings, and eat people. It just doesn't come up in daily life. But
exactly.
And I mean, with 6 games, you obviously have to learn from every game. You learn something, take it on to the next one. You have here that you would characterize your games as action-packed with fairly short bursts of action, of play. What are you kind of finding, and we keep referencing again, Mighty Monster Mayhem. What are you kind of finding that maybe you or your audience kind of like about your games? Is it that, those moments of, oh my God, I like you purely based on instinct reaction, you kind of forget that you're in a game and you just have to react? Like, is that what kind of people enjoy, or is it, kind of the puzzle aspect of it? what have you learned from making video games?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Like you mentioned, the puzzle aspect. I think what's neat and especially unique to VR is when people discover things in the game that they weren't necessarily told to do, but it works like real life. So it's sort of like, oh, can I, pick up this car and throw it into a building, and will it destroy the building? Or can I pick up a light pole and start, hold it and smash buildings with it? And so that represents a challenge to developing VR games, because you sort of have to make everything work like real life and anticipate what people are going to want to do with this environment. But I think when you get that right, and and it's not just picking up things, but it's getting the sense of momentum and kind of destruction and things like that, particularly with our monster game. I think that's what people like. And I think when things don't quite work as you expect, or when the momentum's off, or like a car feels way too light, and it's like, that's not how you would throw that if I was a 17-foot tall monster. That kind of takes people out of the experience. So getting that tuning right of having everything work like you would expect in real life is challenging, but that's what makes I think great VR experiences.
Right, definitely challenging. And, traditional games have the same issues. I definitely hate it when, you see like a road barrier, it's like 3 feet tall, and you're like, my character can jump over that easily. And you go to jump over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Invisible wall. People don't like that. People like, hey, can I do this? Oh, I can. Check that out. And they definitely like that. So
yeah,
definitely cool to hear that you are developing that. Of course, that's going to take, there's always someone out there who, you try to make your game, I don't want to say idiot proof, but you try to make your game as creative as possible. But, people are very creative in what they do. So, it's, we mentioned so far Mighty Monster Mayhem. We mentioned in passing VR Baseball and Armed Against the Undead. What are some of these other ones? I see Boo Breakers, The Ghostening.
Yep.
No idea what that is. And Blade and Shield and Pixel Smash. What are some of these other games?
Yeah, so our three other games is one of them's Boo Breakers that you mentioned. We released that just before Halloween last year, where you kind of travel through a haunted house and you have a wand to capture ghosts. It's pretty fun, and I guess it really works, I think, especially around kind of the Halloween time frame to get in that frame of mind. Blade Shield's actually one of our, I guess, maybe one of our simplest games, but also kind of one of our most popular ones, and kind of my personal favorite, because it's just so easy to get up and play. I often show that to people as kind of like one of their first VR experiences. But in Blade Shield, you have a lightsaber and a shield, or you can actually alternate and hold two like kind of lightsaber type weapons or two shields, and you have an army of robots that are kind of swarming at your face and flying around and shooting things at you, and you have to deflect them and destroy them. So it's pretty, I guess that's kind of definitely more action-packed, but it's fun, and it's also, I don't know, it's kind of one of those scary things, because it starts out easy where it's like, oh, there's 1 or 3 robots, but then when you have 12 coming, it gets pretty exciting. So
right.
Yeah, that's a fun game. And Super Pixel Smash, I guess, is kind of in one sense, it's the kind of, I don't even know how many years it is, but 40 years later, the VR version of Pong, where it's kind of 3D tennis, where you are holding a racket and you're kind of in a room where you have to hit a ball with different colored blocks.
Kind of, right, and just real quick, looks kind of like a VR version of Brick Break. I mean, you lob your ball and you break essentially bricks. Very cool. And
right.
And I hate to cut you off, Steve, but actually, would you mind staying over just a few minutes so we can wrap up this interview in the proper way?
Yep, that's fine. Yep.
Perfect. All right. So, yeah, we are about to go to break. And for everyone out there just joining us, congratulations. A few commercials for you. But that's right. We are with Steve Iverson. He is the founder and CEO of Rank17.com. And we have a link to that and more over at our website, over at computeramerica.com. So when we come back, we'll wrap this up and we'll talk about maybe, the future of VR, VR in education, and VR in other aspects. Because, VR, it has a lot of, it has a lot of potential outside of just video games, outside of just, what we've talked about here today, and more. So we'll wrap this up with Steve in just a moment. So we'll be right back. And then later on in the program, computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. So we'll be right back. And please check us out. Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. And of course, Computer America. We'll be right back.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour, and continuing on with us just for a few minutes is Steve Iverson, founder and CEO of Rank17. And Steve, I really wanted to keep you over because, to really flesh out this idea that, I was just looking at Pixel Smash over on the Steam store. And, it's cool because, again, over there you get the reviews, you get to see how many hours they spent on it. This one gentleman, over 50 hours played on Pixel Smash alone. And I said education before, training and, immersion for maybe dangerous jobs or maybe, just everyday jobs. But also fitness. Fitness is because you get up and you move and you do stuff. Do you see VR expanding in those areas as quickly, or is that still an area that needs explored?
Yeah, I think it's I definitely think there's opportunities there for VR. I think the easy, kind of the low-hanging fruit and kind of our area of expertise is within the gaming market. That's kind of obvious right now, and people are building games and they love it right now. But yeah, I think there's tremendous, I think from a broad perspective, there's tremendous opportunity in VR and the application of VR in many other markets on education and training and obviously in social. Facebook's heavily invested in VR, and probably the one of those, we're kind of mentioning all these different possibilities for VR, but I think the breakthrough application of VR other than gaming, nobody's thought of yet. And I think that's where people are trying to figure out what that is and what it looks like, and we'll just have to wait and see. And I think one of these other companies or startups out there is going to figure that out in the next couple of years.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, one of the earliest utilizations of virtual reality was the idea that you all sync your Netflixes together. You sit down in a virtual movie theater with, you can look over, see your friend's avatar, and you essentially sit down and watch Netflix together. I mean, it's simple, but it had a lot of appeal to a lot of people. So I think you're right. There's a lot of ground to cover here, and it was very cool having Rank17 on, and of course yourself, to kind of talk about this. And of course you are in the thick of it. So just just real quick, what do you see in the future? It seems like you have a game coming out every 6 months. It's a very demanding schedule, or 3 months even. What's in the future for Rank17?
Yep. Yeah. In the near future, we're actually going to, for the next 6 months or so, slow our pace a little bit, where we'll probably have 1 or 2 new titles, but we're actually going to also be focusing on continuing to provide updates for the games we have and kind of our most popular games. So I think you'll see significant improvements for Mighty Monster Mayhem, which is our recent release that's been actually really well received. And we're also going to be continuing to work with other publishers to help kind of monetize their games. So I think the more developers can generate kind of new revenue streams for their games, the more effort they can put into them, and it's kind of a higher quality experience for everybody. So expect lots of updates from us and hopefully some of our partners as well.
Perfect. Very well said. And of course, we look forward to hearing about that. If if you come out with a new game or have something to announce, please feel free to come on back. This was very entertaining.
Great, thanks. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it as well. Thanks.
All right, perfect. And everyone, once again, this has been Steve Iverson, Rank17 founder and CEO, and talked all about virtual reality. So we're gonna say goodbye to him, and we're gonna move on to our next segment. But everyone. And we're going to say thank you, Steve, one more time. So, everyone, if you missed any part of that interview, you can, of course, head on over to computeramerica.com. Not in virtual reality just yet. We're working on it. Probably not. But, you can head on over there and you can listen to the entire interview in its entirety. Right. And, so that was very entertaining, very informative. And now, with that being said, I think we're going to jump into computer and technology news. So, and also one more thing I wanted to mention. This is very exciting for us, but Computer America just welcomed on a new advertiser. And, we don't have anything set up just yet. Probably early next week, we're going to start rolling it out, and you're going to start seeing it all over here at Computer America. But Fire Dragon Security, they were just on the program. And let me get the exact date for anyone out there who wants to go listen to exactly what it was that they have to offer. And, it was a great interview last Monday, or actually, I should say May 8th. That's right, May 8th, in the first half hour of that segment, you can listen to Fire Dragon Security and what they have to offer, what they do, and why it is they are so unique and so different. And we are happy to have them on as an advertiser. So, again, expect to hear more from them and more about them in the coming weeks. But for now, Fire Dragon Security, welcome into the Computer America family. Now, why don't we jump into computer and technology news? And this is a segment where we dedicate everything and anything to what's happening in, what's happening in the world of technology. And this can be about individuals, this could be about companies, this could be about just anything technology related. And hey, what isn't these days? So here we go. Computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. All right, and our first story that we're going to do is, this one. And this one is very, very, how do I put this? Kind of funny, because when you think about pirates, you think they're ne'er-do-wells, you think they steal, they cheat, they are duplicitous, and, well, pirates are living up to their name when it comes to Pirates of the Caribbean. So, this is coming to us from Engadget, Mr. Richard Lawler, and the irony of all of this has not been lost, really, on anyone. So, here we have it. This is, once again, from Engadget, and Disney faces ransom threat over its upcoming movies. That's right, CEO Bob Iger told employees that Disney won't pay, and it's working with the FBI. Strong words indeed. So and it starts out by saying that it appears that the latest studio to deal with an attack by criminals is Disney, where The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline have heard that CEO Bob Iger told Disney employees that a group of hackers claimed to have access to a copy of one of its upcoming movies and are trying to charge a ransom in exchange for not releasing it to the public. Yeah, let me tell you how pirating music and movies go. Once it's out there, good luck putting that genie back in the bottle, as the king of Thailand is sorely finding out right now, or at least the government of Thailand. We'll get more on that later, but very pertinent, as they're saying that speculation points to high-profile flicks like Cars 3. While Deadline reports that it's the next Pirates of the Caribbean. Saying that this pretty closely follows an incident where someone calling themselves the Dark Overlord posted episodes from Netflix's upcoming season of Orange is the New Black. That's right. and after stealing them from an audio studio and failing at an attempt to obtain a ransom payment. And at the time, they claimed also to have content from ABC, Fox, IFC, and Nat Geo, but not Disney. And it's not clear if that is related to the situation, but of course, it could be worse, where, of course, they were referring to Sony Pictures and the release of a few big blockbuster movies, and how they say it hurt ticket sales. Although we can never really be sure, because we talked about this with one of our other correspondents, Mike Cermak. That's right. Just 2 weeks ago, we talked about Orange is the New Black, and how at the end of the day, I hate using that phrase, but at the end of the day, when it came to Orange is the New Black, with them being able to post only episodes like 2 through 10, and so the first episode and the last 3 episodes of the series were still not available for pirating, but with episodes 2 through 10, no one is really going to sit down and just watch episodes 2 through 10 and go, well, I'm done. That's all I needed to see. No, a lot of people are going to go back and watch episode 1, episode 10, episode, through 13. They, if nothing else, this pirated content acted like some kind of really, really extended trailer. And for even more people, hey, we just heard about Orange is the New Black for like 3 weeks. We heard about how it was stolen, how we had this new ransom plot, how we had this shady, the Dark Overlord, is holding the episodes at ransom. All in all, everything that happened with the stolen versions of Orange is the New Black only helped it. Only helped the advertising campaign of it, only helped get the name in people's heads. Now, this is something a little bit different, because Disney is actually expecting a box office return on this. Orange is the New Black, no such thing exists. Either you pay for Netflix or you don't. Whereas Pirates of the Caribbean, this is going to have a theatrical release, and it's going to be up to people to say, am I going to pirate? What is most likely? Because again, if this follows along the same types as last time, it's not the finished film. It's probably something that was stolen off of some CGI network, and it's not the finished, polished, done version, but it's going to be passable. And are people going to want to see the movie? And if they do, they're going to go see it in theaters. But if they don't, then they're just going to pirate it. It's going to be up to the quality of the film, because if the film is really good, people will pay for it. Even though it's available for free, people will pay for it. And Disney, if you're listening, Computer America here thinks you made the right move by not encouraging this behavior, by not saying, hey, we're going to charge a ransom, hey, and we're going to pay it. Because not only does that only encourage more of the same behavior, but it's probably futile, because once you pay the ransom, hey, digital copies can be copied thousands, millions, hundreds of millions of times. Once it's out of the bottle, no way of getting it back in. So you're better off just taking it on the chin. So the article finishes up by saying that last week there were rumors that an early work print of Star Wars The Last Jedi had been leaked, and although they appear to have been a hoax. And oddly, the details Iger reportedly gave employees are similar to the forum post that kicked off last week's rumors, where it claimed that the threat is to release 5-minute sections of the film unless they're paid. And Disney has not responded with an official statement or comment, but Engadget will update this article when they do so. Although I think Disney is probably going to be as internal and closed mouth about this. They're probably just going to ignore it, act like it didn't happen, assume that they are bluffing, and hey, hope for a very successful theatrical release. That's all they can do, and good to see them do it. So that's right. Pirates, thieves have stolen Pirates of the Caribbean, potentially 5, from them and are holding it for ransom. Sounds like a very pirate thing to do. So yeah, that was a bit of irony and a bit of a different kind of story. But how about for our next one? We get a little bit more. All right, how about we get a little bit more heroic, but at the same time, this is a tragedy. This is a tragedy for the hero. This is the same reason why we feel Batman has a mask on. This is the same reason why Superman has a secret alternate identity. This is the reason why heroes like to stay anonymous. And as malware tech just found out, it's hard to stay anonymous from a lot of people. So here we have it. And if you're watching the video portion, you see a gentleman's tweet. It reads simply, "I always thought I'd be doxxed by script kiddies or S-kids, but turns out journalists are 100 times better at doxing." And for those of you who are not up on your lingo, doxing is the term that you go through someone's post history, you do intensive searching and find as much personal information on an individual as you possibly can. Essentially, using Google and every other search technique that you can and find out everything about them. Well, here we have it. Malware tech is a gosh darn hero. That is how this article starts out. And by the way, this is by Matthew Hughes. And they're saying that last Friday, the UK-based security researcher stopped the WannaCry ransomware in its tracks. That's right. He was a UK-based security researcher, and if you've been living under a rock, WannaCry ransomware has been the one that has been plaguing the NHS. The National Health Services locked out hundreds of thousands of people out of their medical records, and malware tech. He stopped it in its tracks, thanks to an ingenious bit of technology trickery, thus preventing more machines from being infected. And, the author says that we owe him a massive debt of gratitude. And they're saying that, and, by the way, just going to, just quickly browse to see that the update, they're saying that, so they're saying that at the very least we should respect his privacy, and malware tech doesn't give out his name on Twitter, page, or blog. There are no headshots, and it's obvious that he just wants to be left alone to get on with what he enjoys. And that is hacking things and, security research. And enter the British tabloid press, which last night doxed the man behind the malware tech for literally no apparent reason. And this is where it gets tricky. Someone did a very good thing, and the British tabloids tried to capitalize on this and say that they wanted a headshot, they wanted a photo, they wanted a name that they could slap on their website and go, "This is the man we all have to thank." The problem is, that's not good if you want to stay anonymous, as most people tend to want to do. So, and the author says that they poured through the, malware tech's online footprint, saying that until they eventually had enough evidence to identify someone who literally didn't want to be identified. And they said that from what the author can tell, the Daily Telegraph was the first publication to share his name, although they're saying that other publications weren't far behind. And the author uses some very colorful language, but essentially saying shame on them for doing that. And of course, the Telegraph talks a little bit about how he's self-taught and how he was able to stop the WannaCry by figuring out it had a kill switch. But that's far from as as far as the technical side of the piece goes, because the rest is going on about random factoids about the security researcher, and including his, because they stalk through his Instagram and Twitter feeds. And it also mentions how he lives with his parents and proceeds to dedicate several lines about how he eats pizza. And so they said that the weird emphasis on the fondness of pizza and, of course, how he worked from a small bedroom in his parents' place, well, that goes to show that they don't actually respect him. Instead, they try to paint him as some basement dwelling hacker nerd. Not a lot of respect there shown. Because, hey, instead of focusing on his security work and what he purposely promotes, they went through and really dedicated a lot of the article to his personal life and who he is as a person, which should be really inconsequential to, what he does and what he did for the technology. So anyways, they're saying that the author finishes up by saying that it's worth noting that in stopping WannaCry, malware tech has made a lot of people very unhappy, and these are people that you do not want unhappy at you. And they say that now, thanks to the British tabloids, they know his name, they know his age, they know his location, and they know the details of his family. All because these tabloids wanted a few clicks and, wanted to unmask the person who saved the day. Not very nice, not very good. And again, this is why the right to privacy is so important and why heroes wear masks. So there you have it. And for anyone out there who is kind of wondering, well, okay, he stopped WannaCry, but what were the actual, implications of the WannaCry ransom software? And good news, we have the answer to that in this next article. Because, ransomware, it's a continuing problem, but the WannaCry in particular has really grabbed headlines, and we should really beat this one to death before we move on to the next one. So that's right, and this is an article from CNET. It's not so colorful language as the last one, but from Alfred Wynn, saying that watch the WannaCry Bitcoin ransom trickle in. And that's right, there's actually a place where you can go to track the amount of people who have actually sent Bitcoin. And, if you're watching the video portion, you can see it here. We're scrolling through it right now. And about 261 people have paid the ransom. If you're looking for actual cash money dollars, well, that's about $70,000 have been paid in ransom already. So, in just 4 days, they're saying that the WannaCry ransom has reeled in enough money to buy about 8,750 servings of avocado toast. Well, and now the ransom has doubled because it said it would. Every couple days, the ransom would double. They would lose access to more and more of their software, more and more of their files, until eventually they would be closed out altogether. Obviously, trying to expedite the speedy payments. Well, the global ransomware plague started infecting computers on Friday and abusing an exploit discovered by the NSA, and of course leaked to WikiLeaks and used by other people. So they said that WannaCry has locked down more than 200,000 computers in 150 countries, affecting banks, universities, hospitals, and more. And all of them, each computer, every single computer, and think about it, there could be hundreds of computers in a single institution. Every one of them needs $300 worth of Bitcoin to unlock that computer. Or, after today, now it's $600 per computer. And if you're thinking, well, no one's going to pay that, turns out about $70,000 worth of people have. And they said that a majority of the payments came on Monday, just hours before the first deadline passed and the ransom rose. So in total, the hackers behind WannaCry have made about $70,000 by Tuesday morning, and as payments continue to flow in. While the original ransomware has been slowed down, patch variations of the malware pointing to the same Bitcoin wallets have appeared, and this time without a kill switch. Of course, at this point, if you are infected with that second version, you did not learn your lesson from the first time. So, what are you going to do? At any rate, if every ransom ends up being paid, the hackers could potentially make $1 billion from the single piece of malware. $1 billion. Obviously, never going to happen. But there's a lot more money to be made here, and it becomes very obvious why someone would attack these kinds of institutions. And, yeah, and what this really does. By the way, one risk analyst firm estimates that WannaCry could cost the world's economy $4 billion in damages and losses. My goodness. That is such a crazy number. So it's unclear who is behind the massive attack, but researchers have found clues in the code linking the ransomware to North Korea. That's interesting. I honestly thought it was going to be a team of hackers because, it's not the most uncommon thing, but at the same time, North Korea, I've not heard that one before. Completely unconfirmed. But there you have it, $70,000, and the number is sure to rise over the coming days. Very, very interesting. All right, so we have time for just one more story, and let's get some of the one of the more important stories out of the way before we have to say goodbye here. And yeah, let's do this one. U.S. utility, that's right. The United States utility offers clients cheap Tesla batteries for grid backup. So customers can get a Powerwall for $15 a month or a flat fee of $1,500. Very exciting because that is much cheaper than the proposed $3,500 or $4,500. And at $15 a month, I think there would be a lot of takers at $15 a month for a whole home backup generator battery pack. So, for the first time ever, a power utility has teamed up with Tesla to use its battery packs for extra grid power during peak usage times. And here we have it, Vermont Green Mountain Power. Congratulations, Vermont is not only installing Tesla's industrial power pack on utility land, but it's subsidizing home Powerwall 2s for up to 2,000 customers. And rather than firing up polluting diesel generators, the utility can use them to provide electricity around the state, and at night, when power usage is low, they charge them back up. Because again, a lot of what the power company has to deal with, a lot of its cost, has to do with power grid and power management. And batteries make everything better, make everything easier. So they said that the idea started after the power outage knocked out about 15,000 homes, and that 3 customers who had Powerwalls never lost power, so it carried their home through. And for those of you who do not know, the Powerwall, it's a battery pack and can run the average home, depending on usage, between 3 and 7 days. Pretty good for a battery. So they said that once in operation, the Powerwalls will stay charged.
90 seconds.
The Powerwalls will stay charged, and then of course, depending on usage, will discharge as they see fit. So again, they cost between $15 a month or $1,500 flat fee, and that's about half the cost, again, $3,000 of just buying it straight from Tesla. But again, it's only for 2,000 homes. But still, it's the starting steps. This is very exciting for a lot of people because power companies love this. This is the ideal scenario for renewable energy, such as solar generation, wind generation, things like that. This is a big deal. So again, very cool of Vermont, and again, very cool of Tesla. So with all of that said, I want to thank you so much. If you are just tuning in, sorry to hear that. You can hear more at Computer America, the full interview, and of course, check out the interview that we just wrapped up, Rank17, all about virtual reality and all about the virtual reality experience. So once again, Fire Dragon Security, welcome on board. You'll be hearing more from them. I guarantee it. And everyone out there, hey, tune in tomorrow for Darius Sherikshani and Computer America.
10 seconds.